Thank you for joining us. I'm Shaylor with Build Your Dream Business. I'm here today with Yuri Dyson of the Small Business Administration. She's a business opportunity specialist. Yuri, tell me a bit about the Small Business Administration's overall programs.
Sure. We have 3 primary programs and then an extra one that most people don't know about. We like to call them the 3 C's and a D. We do counseling assistance to small businesses, capital access, and contracting, chiefly federal contracting. And then we also get involved with disaster assistance to small businesses when things like hurricanes, floods, and earthquakes hit different parts of the country. Our chief goal there is to support the small businesses in that affected community, help them get some affordable loans to be able to open up their storefronts again.
Excellent. We all know that small businesses are the real motivators of the U.S. economy. So can you tell me some statistics about the real impact of small business in the U.S. economy?
It's quite amazing. The majority of workers in this country are working with small businesses. And of course, they are small businesses in the communities where those workers live in. And so there's a very direct connection between how those small businesses feed into the success of these communities. They're wage jobs, they're supporting families, they in many cases provide medical benefits. So it's actually a huge driver.
Definitely. What size of business is considered a small business to the SBA?
So I'm glad you framed it that way, because the SBA, as one of the federal agencies, we have a definition for what qualifies as small. And that definition fits when we're talking about federal contracting. So when federal agencies actually seek out businesses to do contracts, there is an official definition of small, and that definition varies by the industry in which that business operates. There's something called the North American Industrial Classification System, the NAICS code. The NAICS codes are basically a way to categorize with a 6-digit number all of the industries that operate in North America. So at any given point, a small firm, may operate in one primary NAICS code, but they may also, since most small businesses are fairly flexible, they may also have talents and capabilities in a couple other NAICS codes. But each NAICS code, to get to your answer, has an official threshold under which, if the business has a certain number of employees or a certain amount of average annual receipts, then they can be deemed small. So it's either, for example, 500 employees for a manufacturing type of firm, or maybe $7.5 million if a firm is doing reforestation services. If you're under those thresholds, you're considered small in the eyes of the federal government.
Excellent. Well, that's definitely a lot of people, a lot of businesses. And how does a business know if it's ready to take on federal contracting?
The funny thing is, most times they don't know. Sometimes they think they are ready and they're actually not. And unfortunately, this is because working with the federal government is like working with no other customer that business has probably already dealt with. I'm actually a former buyer with a couple of the federal agencies. I was a contracting officer for 20 years before I came to SBA. And so I've had the opportunity to see what goes on inside the buying units of agencies and what is required of these businesses to do in order to be ready to bid on projects. And in many cases, businesses are not ready. They don't know the language. They don't know the processes. They don't know that certifications can be of help. And there's resources for that, which is why I'm thrilled to work with SBA, because part of what we do is helping connect businesses with those resources so they can be ready.
So what are all the ways that the SBA can help a small business prepare for federal contracting?
We have quite a wealth of resources available. I often encourage people to start with our learning webinars that are online. on the SBA website. That's www.sba.gov. And when you go there, there is a tab for contracting and dozens of articles already posted there so that the business owner can learn a little bit about it and then delve further if they're more interested. Then the webinars are also available if they want to get a little more of a idea of what goes into government contracting. They need to understand the basis for why Uncle Sam buys services and products the way he does, and how unique that is compared to how businesses usually work with private citizens, private companies, local businesses too.
Now, the SBA website has a huge library of online tutorials and webinars to draw from. Lots of really good information on
Absolutely. A person could literally spend hours doing it.
Or days, I think. Seriously, I looked through there. It's quite extensive. I was very impressed.
Yes. It's a lot. And for that reason, I think it's also important to point out that there's not just the information we have on our website. People are each different. We all learn in different ways. We do have great resource partners that can help us with one-on-one assistance to the business owners. I am constantly referring people to the Procurement Technical Assistance Centers. They are a nonprofit network all throughout the United States, funded partially by state and federal dollars. Their chief goal is to provide one-on-one counseling and assistance to businesses that want to get into government contracting. And this is at any level. They can be seeking federal government contracts, state contracts, county contracts. Their counselors are very well educated in how those systems work, where those opportunities are posted, what a firm needs to do in order to be ready to respond to those opportunities.
How do I go about finding a local SBA office?
Sure. We've got an SBA office in just about every state. If you go to sba.gov and click on locations or contact us, there's a page where you can narrow down by state. And in many cases, states have multiple SBA offices. So pretty easy to find us. And you can call, walk in, or email us.
What kind of federal agencies are contracting small businesses?
Just about all of them. And for the average small business owner who's never really considered government contracting, I think it's important for you to know that each agency has its own character, its own mission, its own culture. There's, of course, defense agencies. There are more maybe domestically oriented agencies like Department of Interior, Bureau of Land Management, Forest Service. But then you also have Health and Human Services, Homeland Security, rural agricultural agencies. It just runs the gamut. So really, Uncle Sam buys just about everything on the planet. The question for the small business owner, however, is, does Uncle Sam buy what I sell in a way or in quantities that I can meet? Mm-hmm. Am I a good match with my current capacity and size and maybe geographical boundaries to adequately meet what Uncle Sam needs?
Is there a good way to quickly check to find out whether Uncle Sam's buying what I offer?
Yes. So the key thing would be is to first find out what NAICS codes, North American Industrial Classification System codes, that you operate in, and then go to usaspending.gov. That is a phenomenal website. It was only developed in the last several years as a way to provide a lot of transparency to the public about what Uncle Sam buys. You can go in there and do an advanced data search, look for contracts that have been let, maybe in a certain geographic area, under the NAICS code you're looking for, and up will pop up any number of opportunities that had been awarded to different firms. You'll see it kind of in a list format. You can export the information so that you can review it more closely, but essentially you can dig further and further into the data that comes up a lot of the data points are hyperlinked. So the recipient of a particular contract that meets that criteria, their listing there will be hyperlinked. You can find out more about that contractor. So in other words, you can learn a lot about potential competition.
Okay.
Already existing competition.
I know that the federal government offers some contracts to small and large businesses where they compete and they're very open. And some contracts are offered just to women-owned or minority businesses. How does the federal government decide who to offer those contracts to?
That's a great question. It's a process that's prescribed in the Federal Acquisition Regulations. So there are laws and regulations about how the agencies are supposed to go about doing these contracts. And it starts all the way from first initial conception of the need that agency has. But to make that particular decision, the agency has to do some market research. They have to look at previous times they've bought that product or service, who responded, who did well, were they a large or small business, were they a certified business as a women-owned small business or service-disabled vet. And then they also do some market research to take a look at the current landscape. There are databases where they go to find currently registered firms who are ready to do work with the federal government and find out what certifications they hold. Do they have the necessary credentials to do that particular work? So then they size up, between what's happened in the past, who's taken an interest, are they large or small, and who's currently available to do the work, and make a determination. The basic rule is what we call the rule of two. If there are two or more businesses of a particular category, let's say a small business or a women-owned small business, then the federal agency has to consider doing a set-aside for that group in which they found two or more firms. So let's say, for an example, they found two women-owned small businesses that can fulfill that work, that they have a reasonable expectation that those two firms will provide a response to the RFP and that they would provide reasonable prices. Then the agency is required to reserve that bidding opportunity to women-owned small businesses.
So when you see a contract that's being offered to a narrower group,
yes,
it gives you basically a smaller pool to compete in.
Exactly.
And so it's a good indicator that that's an opportunity to seize.
Absolutely. And if you have eligibility for any of these certification programs, I would highly recommend getting certified because you do get to compete in a smaller pool.
What kind of certifications are available that help narrow my focus or my pool that I'm competing with?
Sure. On the federal level, it starts basically from small business. So you could either be certified as a small business or a women-owned small business, service-disabled vet, HubZone certified firm, which actually has to do with where your business is located, and small disadvantaged business, so basically minority-owned businesses.
A lot of people watching are freelancers or independent consultants. Are there opportunities available to these businesses?
Absolutely. A lot of the agencies buy those types of services through very small contracts. In fact, it would be very helpful for those freelancers and small consulting firms to connect with the agencies in their local area that are buying their services, because more than likely there is a credit card holder, a purchasing agent, if you will, at that agency, at that location, who could easily just pay that business with a credit card for services that are well under $25,000. There are also, at the other end, larger contracts for freelancers and consulting firms that are national contracts, multi-million-dollar contracts. Those, of course, are posted on fbo.gov. But I think for very small firms, it's really important to find out which agencies buy what you sell. Are they buying it at a small enough quantity that you can service and make connections with those agencies?
So there's contracts under $25,000 that aren't going to be listed on fbo.gov. And as a business owner, I need to go solicit my service to those directly to those agencies.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And these do happen a little bit under the radar because they are not posted publicly. Some agencies are really great. They may have a specific agency website where they do post these smaller opportunities. Some agencies don't do that. So really the best way for a small business like that to get connected is to first find out who's in their backyard. What agencies are there locally that have an appetite for what services you have? And then go make direct contact.
And again, the SBA can help me get connected with those agencies even if they're not being offered through the database system.
Absolutely. We can give you the tools, show you where to go looking for these opportunities. The usaspending.gov will show transactions from big and small. And so we will be able to help you find out what agencies are buying your services in your local area.
Can the SBA assist me in finding state or local government contracts?
Absolutely. We take pride in collaborating a lot with our state and local government partners. And so in most cases, your local SBA office has individuals who at least have some basic understanding of the certification programs at the state and local level, where the state and local government posts their opportunities, what sorts of requirements there might be to actually get involved at that level of government. So we would be happy to refer you to that information.
Does the online database allow for alerts to contracts that would apply to me?
Yes, it's on a separate website called Federal Business Opportunities. It's at fbo.gov. So a business owner can become a user of that site, create a login and password, and basically put in a request to be notified daily if there are any opportunities that fit their criteria. So for example, when you create a request like that, you would indicate which NAICS codes you're looking for and probably which geographic areas. You may even want to narrow it down to particular agencies. And then daily you will be receiving a consolidated email that tells you which opportunities fit that criteria.
And Yuri, there's staff available at the SBA that can help me get started and get this all set up?
Definitely. We can, kind of explain the basics, the key things that you'll need to be aware of as you begin. And then at some point, we will be referring you to one-on-one assistance providers, such as the PTACs, Procurement Technical Assistance Centers. And they can do, the side-by-side, sitting down with you, reviewing your business, affirming what NAICS codes you operate in, and then help you with searches like that on the internet.
I would think that competing with larger businesses for government contracts would be difficult. What factors help a small business stay competitive for federal contracts?
There's quite a few. That's one big reason why the SBA has a federal contracting program. We have federal contracting certifications, which small businesses can pick up if they're eligible. There's several different programs, all with different eligibility criteria. But the important thing for small businesses to know is that the agencies themselves have small business contracting goals. Now, where it may seem that it's overwhelming for a small business to compete effectively against large businesses, thankfully there are rules set up in the federal acquisition regulations that say that certain transactions have to be reserved for small businesses, and that's a plus. Not only that, the federal government has mandated rules about how much in dollars has to be procured from small businesses on an annual basis. So you may hear from time to time that the federal government has an annual goal of 23% of its spend going to small businesses. And that's what I'm referring to. It also breaks down further to have percentages for women-owned small businesses, service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses, HUB-zone certified small businesses, and small disadvantaged businesses. So those are the top several small business contracting certifications that we have.
That's excellent. That means that there's essentially billions of dollars reserved for small business contracts with the government. That's
absolutely
fantastic. How does someone get started with the SBA's program? What's the first step?
First step would be contacting us at our SBA district offices. We have individuals at each office who have information to help people get started. We'll probably refer you to a lot of the information that we have on the internet. Most of our offices also provide workshops, in-person workshops, or perhaps webinars, where you can actually come in and learn some more and more of a group setting. But then, at a certain point, you'll probably be ready for actual tactical assistance one-on-one, and that's when we would refer you to a PTAC counselor, and they're located within each state, so they're not far away either.
Thank you for joining us today, Yuri.
Oh,
it's been a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
We'll provide links to the mentioned websites in the descriptions. Follow us on Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube.